Now for what's tipping the scales of justice, defendant Karen Reed back in court. She's accused of killing her boyfriend John O'Keefe by hitting him with her car. Now the judge has yet to make a decision on the motions that were argued. Trial is set for April 16th. And many of you who were watching the hearing on Tuesday noticed Karen Reed's facial expressions. Has us wondering this morning, what was her body language really saying? We're going to get to that in a moment, but first, a look at the background of the case. Julia Janae reports.
Who killed John O'Keefe, the 46-year-old Boston police officer who died from blunt force trauma and hypothermia? Prosecutors claim his girlfriend, Karen Reed, is the one who murdered him. January 28, 2022, in Canton, Massachusetts, prosecutors say Reed and O'Keefe went out drinking. Later, they pulled up to the home of Brian Albert, a police officer they were acquainted with who had invited them over. Prosecutors say the couple argued, and when O'Keefe got out, Reed backed her car into him and allegedly left him unconscious to die out in the snow in front of Albert's home. Police say they discovered pieces of broken taillight at the scene. And according to the state, Reed allegedly told a first responder, quote, "I hit him." Reed is charged with second-degree murder, vehicular manslaughter while in...
Julia Janae reporting there for us. I'm going to bring in now Susan Constantine. She is a jury consultant and a human behavior expert. Susan, good morning. I've got some clips for you to take a look at for us. These are the big moments. It really stood out the most to everyone watching. Lots of reaction on social media. First, Karen Reed's reaction to the prosecution. I think this was their best line of the hearing, where they compared what the defense is doing to a three-card money trick. Look here, look there, look everywhere, but don't look at the evidence. Let's watch.
Counsel wants to say that the Commonwealth is asking the court or everybody to sort of look the other way when it comes to these things. What I would submit is that's exactly what the defendant is doing. Look the other way, defense by obfuscation. It's essentially, it's a three-card money trick, card trick on the corner on the side. Look at all of this, look at this relationship, look at that relationship, conflating these relationships, sort of the distortion that I would say between what exists in social media realm and what exists in reality.
Okay, we get a little glimpse of her there. Susan, what'd you see?
Yeah. Well, she's dismissive, right? So she doesn't even turn her body language or her head towards the other opponent to be able to hear what they're saying. So it's what we call a cold shoulder. And her underlying emotions throughout everything is anger. And then you have these layered emotions on top of it. And when we look at her expression, you often see her lips pulled. She's got this little smirk, and it's this pulled up muscle, which they call cheek raisers. But this is what we call a negative smile. So there's this form of amusement that she's getting from it. That's why you're seeing the cheek raisers. But overall, she's thinking they're full of crap. They have no idea what they're talking about. This is a big joke. So when you look at the emotions underlying it, it's very layered, it's very complex, and she's got a lot of emotion that is flooding through her at the same time.
Susan, I've got another clip for you to take a look at, please. So this is where she's reacting to the prosecution talking about these cell phone searches done by a woman named Jennifer McCabe. And in the grand jury presentment, what multiple witnesses testified to was that Karen Reed called Jennifer McCabe up in the middle of the night and was concerned that John, her boyfriend, hadn't come home. She was saying to another witness who gave testimony that she hit him and that John is dead. Those were her words. This all came before the grand jury, and Jennifer and this other friend drive to the house, and Karen Reed suddenly spots him. The other two say, we couldn't see him, but she saw him, covered in 6 inches of snow. And the witnesses said that while they were there, Karen Reed yelled to Jennifer, hey, Google how long it takes for someone to die in the snow. And it was around 6:30 in the morning. The defense is trying to say it happened at 2:30 in the morning because of the time in which the Google page was pulled up on the phone. So the state is saying they're distorting a fact that we can prove through our cell phone experts. So let's watch how she reacts when the state tries to put to bed the phone searches issue once and for all.
Yeah.
An RCFL analysis of the phone, in which through both Axiom and through Celebrite, and the conclusion of that expert is that the searches occurred when Ms. McCabe testified. They occurred because the defendant asked her to conduct those searches at 6:23 and 6:24 in the morning. Really, the argument stops at the point of it's not, we didn't do our job to get the Cellbrite version that shows that information did not exist at the time of the grand jury. So I'm not really sure how the Commonwealth is supposed to run something through a Cellbrite version that isn't in existence at the time the grand jury is conducted.
Ooh, that face though. Susan, talk to me.
Yes. It's great. You know, I love watching the expressions morphing on and off her face and watching the duration of them. And you tie it right in because she's very expressive, right? I love a lot of her expressions just because she doesn't really care what anybody else thinks. She's going to throw it out there and she's going to make it stick. But that's what we call, you're definitely a stink eye, right? So she's looking over that critical, close the eyes, snare with the eyes, and it's just piercing right over to the prosecutor. Disagreement. That's, again, the underlying is anger, and she doesn't agree, and that's why you see her eyes narrowing, because that's a form of anger when the eyes narrow like that, but they become very fixated. So it's a snare with her eyes. It's a form of contempt, what we see in her facial expression.
Yeah, the stink eye. Oh, and Susan, we've saved the best clip for last. This is one that has been seen, and it has bothered me from the outset, and I couldn't put my finger on why. But one day you said something on another case, and it made me think back to this moment with her. And so I'll be curious if you say what I think you might. Let's watch what she says on the courthouse steps when she's asked if she did the murder.
It feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. Just feels like no one else wants it.
Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
Okay,
Yeah,
Susan, what do you think?
It's pretty powerful because, first of all, she's showing a lot of sincerity in her forehead. At first, you can see it lift raised. You can see the wrinkles across her forehead. But I'll tell you what, all of a sudden, they disappear. She looks right at him, right? Pointed. You all know. But I love the pause right before it because she believes that those police officers know exactly what they did. And she's not going to take it, and she's not going to put up with it for 1 minute. She's standing her ground.
Susan, Constantine, I wish we had more time to talk. I've got so many more questions for you. We've got to leave it there. We are out of time. Excellent analysis from you as always. Thank you so much for your expertise. And that's all for this episode of Opening Statements. My friends, you can watch it and share it if you like. Just go to courttv.com to do that. Click on the Shows tab. When we come back, we're taking you